A love story that defined the 90s, a movie that turned Julia Roberts into America's sweetheart and made Richard Gere the silver-haired dream man of millions. Pretty Woman wasn't just a film, it was magic on screen. And now, more than 30 years later, that magic is coming back. Yes. Julia Roberts and Richard Gere are together again. When Pretty Woman first hit theaters in 1990, nobody expected it to become one of the most beloved romantic comedies of all time. The film told the story of Vivian, a spirited woman played by Julia Roberts, and Edward, a wealthy businessman played by Richard Gere. Their worlds couldn't have been more different. She lived life on the edge, struggling to get by. He lived in penthouses and boardrooms, making million-dollar deals. But when their paths crossed, it wasn't just a business transaction, it was the beginning of one of the most charming love stories ever captured on film. The movie was a phenomenon. It earned nearly $500 million at the global box office, turning Roberts into an overnight superstar. Her smile, her laugh, her energy, audiences fell in love instantly. And Richard Gere? His calm, charming, and almost mysterious presence gave the film its balance. The chemistry between them was undeniable. They weren't just acting, they felt real. That's why fans rewatched the film again and again. It wasn't just about the story. It was about them. Pretty Woman quickly became more than a movie. It became a cultural moment. Julia Roberts' red dress on Richard Gere's arm is still one of the most iconic fashion scenes in film history. The soundtrack, featuring Roy Orbison's "Oh, Pretty Woman," became inseparable from the film itself. And lines like "Big mistake, huge," entered pop culture forever. People still quote it. People still smile when they hear it. It's timeless, but what made the film even more powerful was how it redefined the romantic comedy genre. Before Pretty Woman, rom-coms were often light, fun, and predictable. But this one had edge. It dealt with class, money, and self-worth. It had laughter, yes, but also heartache, transformation, and growth. It showed that love doesn't always come from the places you expect. And audiences connected with that message deeply. Critics may have been divided at first, but time has proven them wrong. The movie has aged beautifully. Younger generations continue to discover it, proving that love stories like Vivian and Edward's never go out of style. And that's why fans have been asking for years, what happened after the fairy tale ending? Did Vivian and Edward truly live happily ever after? Or did life get in the way? That question has lingered for decades. Every few years, rumors of a sequel would resurface. Fans would speculate, magazines would run stories, and interviews with Roberts and Gere always included the same question: would you ever do Pretty Woman 2? For years, the answer was no. Julia Roberts often said she didn't want to ruin the magic of the original. Richard Gere agreed. They both believe some stories are better left untouched. But now, after more than 3 decades, something has changed. And the news is bigger than anyone could have imagined. Pretty Woman 2 is real. And for fans who have been waiting since 1990, it feels like a dream come true. Asterisk for more than 30 years. Pretty Woman has lived in people's hearts not as just a film, but as a memory of a time when movies could truly make us believe in love at first sight. And while the credits rolled with Vivian and Edward driving off into the sunset, fans never stopped asking, what happened next? Did they get married? Did they build a life together? Or did real life challenge their fairy tale? From the moment the film became a hit, whispers of a sequel began. Studio executives wanted to capitalize on the box office success. Hollywood knew there was money to be made. But Julia Roberts and Richard Gere weren't ready. For them, the ending of Pretty Woman was sacred. Julia once said in an interview that she didn't want to unpack something so perfectly wrapped. Richard Gere agreed, often explaining that sometimes a single chapter is enough to tell the whole story. They weren't being stubborn. They were protecting the magic, but what they didn't anticipate was how much people would continue to hold on to the story. Fans wrote letters to the studio, sent messages to Roberts and Gere, and even started online petitions begging for a sequel once the internet became the voice of fandom. In an age where almost every classic movie has been rebooted, remade, or reimagined, Pretty Woman remained untouched, almost frozen in time. And that untouched quality made it even more special. Generations kept discovering it. Mothers showed it to daughters. Couples watched it on anniversaries. College students discovered it late at night on streaming services and felt like they had found a hidden treasure. The film never faded away, it only grew bigger with time. And every time Julia Roberts or Richard Gere appeared in another project, fans immediately thought back to Pretty Woman, no matter what roles they played. Vivian and Edward remained their most beloved characters. Over the years, the demand only intensified. At fan conventions, at red carpet premieres, and during countless interviews, the question was always there, will there be a Pretty Woman 2? For years, the answer was a gentle smile, a polite laugh, and a firm no, but the world was changing. Hollywood started to realize that audiences craved nostalgia, not just new stories, but the return of old ones. Sequels weren't just cash grabs anymore. They were a way to revisit something that shaped people's lives. Then came a moment that reignited hope. In 2019, Julia Roberts and Richard Gere reunited with their director Gary Marshall. For the 25th anniversary celebrations of Pretty Woman, they laughed, reminisced, and shared behind-the-scenes stories. When fans saw them together again, it was like no time had passed. That chemistry, that spark, was still there. It was undeniable. The internet exploded with posts, hashtags, and viral videos begging once again for a sequel. The demand was louder than ever, and Hollywood listened. Quietly, discussions began. Could they finally bring Vivian and Edward back without ruining what made the original so magical? Could they give fans a story that felt honest, emotional, and worthy of the legacy? For years, scripts were rumored, treatments were drafted, but nothing official surfaced. And yet the demand never stopped. Fans didn't let go. It was as if the love story had taken on a life of its own. Vivian and Edward weren't just fictional characters anymore. They were icons, symbols of hope, romance, and possibility. And fans refused to believe their story had truly ended. They wanted closure. They wanted answers. But most importantly, they wanted to feel that same spark they felt when they first saw Julia Roberts smile at Richard Gere all those years ago. Now, after decades of silence, the wait is over. The fans who never stopped believing are finally being rewarded. The fairy tale isn't frozen anymore, it's alive again. Pretty Woman 2 isn't just another sequel. It's the fulfillment of a dream that audiences around the world have carried with them for 30 years. And now, the moment fans thought they would never see has finally arrived. The fairy tale is stepping back into the spotlight. Yes, it's real. Pretty Woman 2 is officially happening. After decades of rumors, interviews filled with polite denials, and countless fan campaigns, Julia Roberts and Richard Gere are returning to the roles that defined an entire generation. The news broke like a shockwave through Hollywood. At first, people couldn't believe it. Was it another rumor? Another recycled headline? But this time, it was different. This time, the studio confirmed it. This time, Julia and Richard themselves stood together and said the words fans had waited to hear for more than 30 years. We're back, but what makes this sequel so special is not just the return of the stars, it's the care being poured into it. The filmmakers know the weight this story carries. They understand that Pretty Woman isn't just another romantic comedy. It's a cultural landmark. And that means Pretty Woman 2 cannot be ordinary. It has to honor the past while creating something new, something meaningful, something worthy of Vivian and Edward's love story. So, what can fans expect? The story picks up years after the fairy tale ending. Vivian and Edward are no longer the young dreamers they once were. Time has passed. Life has tested them. They've built lives, faced challenges, and carried the weight of expectations. But through it all, one question remains. Can a love born out of such unlikely circumstances truly stand the test of time? The sequel dares to answer it. Julia Roberts has already teased that Vivian is no longer the wide-eyed dreamer from the 90s. She's grown, matured, and found her own voice. This time, Vivian is not just living inside Edward's world, she's built her own. Meanwhile, Richard Gere's Edward is no longer the businessman obsessed with control and power. He's older, wiser, but also carrying regrets. Their love story now faces a new reality. How do two people from such different worlds continue to stay connected when the fairy tale is over? The director attached to the project has promised that the film will not be a simple rehash of the first. Instead, it's being crafted as a story about second chances, about rediscovering love when the world thinks your story has already ended. It's about the fire that never truly goes out. No matter how much time passes, behind the scenes, the reunion has been emotional. Cast and crew have shared how surreal it feels to see Julia Roberts and Richard Gere step back into character after so long. Watching them rehearse together reportedly brought tears to the set because the chemistry is still there. The looks, the smiles, the unspoken connection. It's as though 30 years have melted away and fans aren't the only ones excited. Julia Roberts herself admitted she felt overwhelmed but thrilled to revisit Vivian after so many years. Richard Gere echoed her words, saying that Edward's story feels unfinished and that this sequel is the perfect way to explore it. Their excitement is not just professional, it's personal. These characters mean as much to them as they do to the audience. The internet has already erupted. Social media timelines are filled with clips of the original movie, fan theories about the plot, and nostalgic posts from people who grew up watching the film. Hashtags for Pretty Woman 2 trended worldwide within hours of the announcement. Memes, fan art, and tribute videos flooded the internet, proving that this isn't just a film release, it's a global event. And yet, for all the excitement, the production team has remained careful not to reveal too much. The release date is being kept close to the chest, the supporting cast is under wraps, and the official trailer is still a mystery. But in a way, that secrecy only makes the anticipation stronger. Fans don't want to just know, they want to feel. They want to experience that same thrill they felt in 1990 when they first saw Vivian and Edward's love story unfold. One thing is certain, Pretty Woman 2 is not just another sequel. It's a celebration. A celebration of a film that touched millions, of two actors whose chemistry defined a genre, and of fans who never stopped believing in a happily ever after. The magic is alive again, and it's bigger, bolder, and more emotional than ever before. And so, after more than 3 decades, we have come full circle. What began as a simple fairy tale on the streets of Los Angeles has become one of the greatest love stories in cinema history. Julia Roberts and Richard Gere gave us Vivian and Edward, two people from completely different worlds who found something extraordinary in each other. That story never truly ended. It lived on in the hearts of fans, in whispered what-ifs, and in the countless replays of a film that refused to grow old. Now, that lingering question has an answer. Pretty Woman 2 is here, and with it comes a rare opportunity to see what happens when a story we thought was finished suddenly comes alive again. This isn't just a movie release, it's an event, a reunion, a once-in-a-lifetime chance to revisit characters who shaped our idea of romance. For some, it's nostalgia. For others, it's discovery. But for everyone, it's a reminder that love stories can transcend time, generation, and even skepticism. Think about what makes this moment so unique. Hollywood reboots films all the time. Sequels come and go, often fading into the background. But Pretty Woman is different. It has a soul. It's not just remembered, it's cherished. When people talk about their favorite love stories, Vivian and Edward's names are always near the top. They represent something bigger than a film. They represent hope. They represent possibility. They represent the idea that love can break boundaries and rewrite destinies, and that's why this sequel matters. Because it's not about replacing the magic of the past, it's about honoring it. It's about giving fans a chance to grow with the characters they fell in love with, to see them older, wiser, and still wrestling with the same question we all do. What does it really mean to love someone for a lifetime? That's the promise Pretty Woman 2 makes, not to redo the past, but to show us that love stories don't end with the credits. They evolve. They continue. They surprise us. So now the stage is set. The cast is ready. The world is waiting. Julia Roberts and Richard Gere are stepping back into a spotlight that never truly left them. The cameras are rolling, the anticipation is rising, and fans across the globe are holding their breath for that first glimpse of the trailer, that first line of dialogue, that first spark of chemistry that will remind us why we believed in this story in the first place. And here's where you come in. Because this isn't just their story anymore, it's ours. It belongs to everyone who laughed at Vivian's unforgettable one-liners. Everyone who melted when Edward climbed the fire escape with flowers in his hand. Everyone who heard the first notes of "Oh, Pretty Woman" and instantly felt a rush of nostalgia. This sequel is for you, the fans who never stopped believing. So, tell us, what do you want to see in Pretty Woman 2? Do you hope for a wedding, a family? A story about overcoming distance, doubt, or time itself? Or do you simply want to feel that same thrill you felt all those years ago? Drop your thoughts in the comments because your voice is part of this journey, and don't stop there. Share this video with friends who watched the original, with family members who still quote the movie, with anyone who needs a reminder that love stories can last forever. Stay tuned because as soon as trailers, teasers, and behind-the-scenes clips arrive, we'll bring them right to you. The fairy tale is alive again. The dream isn't over. Julia Roberts and Richard Gere are together once more. And soon, the world will witness a love story that proves some connections can never be broken. Pretty Woman 2, coming soon. And this time, we're all invited to the happily ever after.